Hello, everybody. Brandon Marcello here, the Jackson Clarion-Ledger, Mississippi State beat writer, of course, here in the aftermath of Mississippi State's 70-60 win over Ole Miss. A dominating win by the Bulldogs, one that was really never in question. Bulldogs opened up an 8-0 run, opened the game up 8-0, and never trailed. And the story of the night is obviously Dee Bost at 15 points to go along with his, this is the stat of the game, 13 assists, a career high for him and SEC high for any SEC player this season. 13, it's the sixth most ever in MSU history. Just a tremendous game by Dee Bost, and the reason why he had so many assists is because not only did he have a great game, but Arnett Moultrie was left alone in certain spots on the floor. Arnett Moultrie would set these screens, and he'd peel off the screen, and every time he'd peel off the screen, it seemed like he would get open underneath the basket. Late in the game, he had a lot of dunks, but late in the game there were times where he would peel off, be completely left wide open, and would lift his hand up saying, "Give me the lob," and State was trying to burn some clock off and wouldn't do it. It could have been even worse than it really was. I mean, Ole Miss made it respectable a little bit thanks to some putback buckets in the latter minutes, but State dominated every facet of this game. They were +9 in rebound margin at halftime. They were one time in the double digits in rebound margin. They finished +5 in that category by the end of the game, but it was much more dominating than that. And how about Renardo Sidney? I thought he played the game of the season for himself. 14.7 rebounds in 27 minutes on the floor. Pretty good game for him. Very good production. He was getting rebounds as well, which is something that's been missing with him. 6 for 9 from the field, also hit a three-pointer to help out the Bulldogs. And really, this is kind of something that's been sparked with him over these last two games. Against Auburn, he was 5 for 5 from the field. He was 6 for 9 from the field tonight against Ole Miss, and he challenged himself after that Florida game. I think he was 2 for 7 in that Florida game. Really struggled, did not play his best game offensively, especially. And he took to Twitter, said that there's going to be a new Renardo Sidney. And hey, I'm cynical sometimes, but I know a lot of people saw that and go, "Oh, here we go again, a new Renardo Sidney. Is it really going to be a new Renardo Sidney?" So far, 2 games, only 2 games. Reminder, 2 games. He's shown that he's a little bit different out there, and he played really good on defense at times. He still let some things go, especially against Reginald Buckner. Reginald Buckner led Ole Miss with 15 points. He had that 19 points and 15 rebounds. Remember in the first meeting when Ole Miss beat Mississippi State 75-68. Speaking of which, that 75-68 loss by Mississippi State and Ole Miss, that was the motivating factor going into this game. If you remember, Dee Bost was talking smack going into that game a little bit. He'll tell you that. And after they lost, it kind of humbled them a little bit. And then the tides kind of turned a little bit. Ole Miss started talking smack. And Murphy Holloway and all these players were talking about how they thought they were the better team coming into Starkville. They expect to win now. They expect to be the first team to sweep Mississippi State in the in-season, regular season matchup since 1998. Obviously, it didn't happen, but the reason why is because Dee Bost and Arnett Moultrie were very motivated going this game. Dee Bost said he heard things about how the fans and some of the Ole Miss faithful and the players were saying that Arnett Moultrie was a UTEP reject. I don't believe he's a UTEP reject. I don't think anybody can really say he is, because he's obviously with 13 double-doubles this season. Even in the National Player of the Year discussion, he won't win it, but he's in the discussion at least by some national pundits. He's not a reject. But in Dee Bost, he said he kept hearing how they were overrated, and that really motivated him a little bit, and you could tell tonight. Dee Bost didn't talk any smack on the court or anything. He didn't really talk smack after the game when he had a chance to. He just kind of said, "Hey, this is what I did, this is what I played," and Mississippi State ended up getting the win. And I think they were motivated quite a bit by the way Ole Miss treated that last game and how they reacted after it. But what this does is it puts Mississippi State in a position where if they win these next 3 games, can you imagine they win these next 3 games, the game here against Kentucky on February 21st is going to be huge. State would be 9-3 at that point. Problem is that while State's going against some teams that they should beat, and probably a lot of people wouldn't be surprised if they beat, the problem is they have to go on the road 2 of these next 3. They get Georgia at home Saturday at 12:30. That's a game that Mississippi State team's favored in and should win. Then they have to go on the road to LSU Tuesday on Valentine's Day at 8 o'clock game, and then go to Auburn. Both dangerous games. LSU played State tough here at Humphrey Coliseum over the season, and we know that those games are really tight when they're down there at the Pete Maravich Center. So that's a game that if they could somehow pull off those 2 wins on the road next week and get on a win streak here a little bit, sets up a huge national stage for that Kentucky game on February 21st. I don't necessarily know if it's going to be for the SEC title because, hey, Kentucky's undefeated right now. if they do lose, it's probably going to be to Mississippi State or one other team. They might at most have 2 losses by the time they get in the SEC tournament. They're probably going to end up winning the SEC title, but I know I'm looking ahead quite a bit, but State needs to keep this up, keep the effort up. And I asked Rick Stansberry after the game, we'll write more about this in the Clarion-Ledger on Saturdays, about how this is a game that Mississippi State's players should look back on and go, this is the type of effort they have to play with to be able to go on a run here. You have to keep that up. You know, they're 24 games into the season now. You're getting near the stretch. You're getting the stretch run here when you need to play your best basketball. Maybe this is the starting point. Maybe this is the launching point, because overall, this is probably their most complete game of the season. I mean, remember, they hadn't beaten an SEC opponent by more than 5 points at home, and they end up getting a 10-point win here, one in which they were up 18 points at one point. So it'll be interesting to watch, something to build on for Mississippi State. We'll be keeping our eyes on it. Make sure to keep following me on Twitter at Marcello. Check out the blog at Clarion-Ledger.com, and make sure to pick up a copy of the Clarion-Ledger. Rick Cleveland has a column comparing this team to maybe some great Mississippi teams of the past, how they stack up against them. Hugh Kellenberger obviously will have a sidebar from the Ole Miss perspective, and of course my game story will deal a lot with Dee Bost and how he was motivated by that smack talk by Ole Miss. So pick up Clarion-Ledger. Thanks for joining me here at Humphrey Coliseum. Again, the final 70-60, Mississippi State wins.